not actually sure if I'm live. On YouTube. I'm live on YouTube, but I don't see myself on Twitch. Unable to connect. Okay, I'm gonna have to restart. Oh. Hello, speed level design. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so I'm live. Perfect. Okay. Ooh, that was harder than expected. Okay. Are you a game dev? Speed level design? Oh, thanks for the follow. This is actually the first time I have a YouTube follow while I'm live. So anyway, thanks for the follow. Okay, so I worked a bit behind the scenes. I now have color correction in the game. So as you can see, this looks a bit more like a night mode. Those would be the real graphics. But it can easily be swapped to night. So that's really cool. And I can do a lot of fancy stuff with that. There's a weird instrument I'm hearing this music. Oh, music is probably really loud. There you go. What is that? Okay, so now I have these tables for color correction. So I'm able to, like, for example, save this. And then this changes everything. So I just need to export that, run the game, and right away the graphics are all different. There you go. So as you can see, like just with this texture, I'm able to get this sort of look in the game. So whether this is good or not, it's irrelevant. What software do I use? I'm making the game with Monogame, and this here is GIMP. So this is what I'm using to edit my textures. If I wanted like this instead. I'm coding with something called Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio Community 2017. There you go. So with only that, I now have shades of like purple, blue. Oh. So this is really sick. Oops. Wow. Okay, I also started doing a bit of a menu in the game. It looks kind of hard to see on stream, but I now have stuff like settings. And the quit actually does quit. I'm gonna put it back on the night mode. Yeah, this is actually, like, the levels right now are really hard. But obviously this is not how it will be in the real game. Those are not the actual first levels. But like, if we skip a bit ahead, like, let's say you look at this. Like, oops. I can't expect a new player to solve this really easily. Oops. Oh. I'm like really close. There you go. You gotta get the timings right. So I would not expect a player to solve this, and this is like the level 7 or something. So this is more like developer stuff, just testing my game, seeing how the engine works. Because creating a level is like really fast right now. I like create my terrain, create like keyframes, skip like to, I don't know, 400, insert a different keyframe. There you go, and then just like that, I just created a level. I'm not sure if it's possible to solve. Oh shit. Oh, there's actually a safe spot up there. Ah, shit. So as you can see, like, I'm just testing like the levels, creating like small little ones. Yeah, so the real game would have to be way easier, like right at the start. Just cause like if I start with this, like no one's gonna play the game. Oops. Like this one, if you look carefully, there's like 2 safe spots right in the center. Oh, close. Hand gain. Whoa. I have a memory blank. There you go, okay. Okay, so this is like the main big thing that I have in the game now, color correction. Being able to like give a lookup table and then have different colors. Is asymmetric? How is it asymmetric? I like this night mode, even though it's not perfect. Yeah, after 5 years. No, it shouldn't be like there's 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Poop, 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 poop. Like you run up to here, then you go back, you run up to here, right there, and then you go all the way. So yeah, it's perfect. But like even if it was asymmetric, it doesn't really matter. Oh shit. Hey. Where you learn from, noob? I King Fuful. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. You'll always be remembered by your original name. Oh, nice. Python is like maybe my second favorite language. Do you already know any other programming languages? Because if you already know some other ones, I mean, if you're me, it's gonna take like a weekend. But like, if not, then it can take like maybe 3 months. Yeah, so to be decently good, like if you're someone that likes to explore and then look up, if you're really good at finding what you're looking for using Google, and then you already know a bit how to use Stack Overflow and websites, then you pretty much can do everything really fast already. You just need to learn the syntax and then look up whatever you're looking to do. So it's more about having, like, you need to have a project and that you understand. Yeah, exactly. It feels like you know me. Relaxo, man. I take like long breaks on like everything. Okay, what was I even doing now? Hey, check that. The thing that took me like 4 months to do. Pretty much. There's not much left to do for the art. Check that, Relaxo, man. There's now like a color correction, so I'm able to change colors and have like something night. Procrastination. Yeah. I mean, I think it's different for me because my brain is broken. I glitch sometimes. Also, I have a menu, so like that took me longer than expected. Oh, I just realized this would be so bad if the back is actually on the same as quit. Because you try to click back and then whoops, quit. Yeah. Right, I forgot to start that. Are you sure? Yeah, oh, yeah, that's true. That's what I wanted to do. It's a PC, not web browser. It's PC, Mac, Linux. I want to listen to the music, but I also want to talk, so... Yeah, the explosions, like, that's all temporary. I subscribe to myself? How can you tell? Oh. Yeah, that's like broken. I did not subscribe to myself. I'm not like paying. Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah. I mean, don't get too impressed because if statements are like everywhere, everyone uses them. There's barely anything you can do without conditionals. Okay, let's give it a test really fast. Where's my menu? Right there, okay. Setup menu. Setup. Quit. Unless you are a JavaScript compressor. Quit menu. Actually, that's right. Did I? I did the wrong thing. There you go. B3 will be that's fine, main is fine, and then yes means quit. That's how I'm coding my actions for now, using like delegates. Oops, that was meant to be a 2. Never mind. This. This is C#. Okay. And now the quit becomes menu dot quit. Okay. If current menu equals screen, else if current menu. I guess I could have used something else, but whatever. Settings. Quit menu. And here's this is C#. You don't like C#? Super Cuber? Because the more I learn how C# works, the more I like it. Wait a second. Ah, never mind. I knew that. I coded that myself. Okay. And Java is quite different from the others. Well, actually, Java isn't that different from C#. This kind of sucks what I'm doing, but I don't really care. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, they are not the same language. Maybe I should start putting some lights on. So if I did it right, quit. Whoops. What happened? Oh. I'm guessing that was a crash then. Yeah. 153. Setup, quit, confirm. I thought it actually quit, but it just crashed. Really? Oh, interesting. Never mind, that's how it's supposed to be. It's centered on the screen. Okay, small little menu, but it's nice. So I wonder if I should change that. So right now I can toggle the menu with escape, and it brings me back exactly where I was before. So in other words, it means that you're able to play let's say I'm in the settings, I'm modifying the settings and I want to play right now. I can do escape and play. And then if I want to change something else, go back in the settings and then toggle. I wonder if that's a good choice. Or if it should always come back to this one. Is it me or does the menu feel too fast? Is the speed too fast? It feels like too responsive almost. Yeah, I guess no one would complain. Maybe later I can add some animations. I wonder how easy it is to notice the fog on stream. I guess we do see it. Yeah. There's a bit of fog that's going around the screen. I can make it easier to notice. There you go. So there's this sort of fog. You sort of need to know that it's there. Yeah. I actually wonder how I coded the fog now that I forgot. Fog. Oh, okay, that's how I did it. -1. Yeah, I had to pay. I hired an artist. So I can show you a bit more the art. So as you can see, like this is like all high quality drawings. If I look closer at my assets, so like they're all like very detailed. If I look at yeah, if you look at this, like this is like super detailed. All the assets. This is like really amazing. All hand painted, everything, every leaf, it's all done manually. There's no like brushes for that. Everything is done one by one. Like I even have stuff like that, so I work for my own company. So like what I just showed earlier, like this layer right there, it goes over it, and I can have like light effects. So I pretty much just founded my own company. So I have no idea if I'm ever gonna make money, but I mean, right now I just have like the good life, I guess. Like I have a bunch of stuff like this that can be used. Like those are really big. Actually, I'm not sure which size they are normally. There you go. So it's a bit less detailed because it's further back in the background. Yeah, exactly. So those like vines, they go right below. So if we look at this, it would be the stuff right below, right there. Yeah. So the way the art is done, it looks like a finished piece. So like if we look at this, oops, not that. If we look at that, so it looks like one big piece that's been hand drawn. But in reality, it's built from a lot of smaller pieces. For example, those are my tiles. So just from that, I can cut different pieces, and then from that, I can start building levels. Hey, Tuk Tuk. From like these little things, I can start cutting. Like I can cut this little part right there, and then put this somewhere in the game. Or I can cut this part there, or like everything is detached. But it's made to fit with everything else. Yeah, exactly. So the whole point is that everything is standalone. Like I can decide to cut this part right there and put it somewhere under my somewhere. Like I can have like one really big, like this is the background. It's like really big. So like if you look in the game, oh, Tuk, check that. I have color corrections now, so I can give this sort of night look to the game. And this is normal day look. Okay, so if you look, the background is like really big. This sort of big blue backdrop. It's like super big. The same thing here with that. Yeah, another shader. Like there's this background where it loops from this side, it enters the other side, so it's perfectly seamless background, so I don't really have to worry about it. But the same way, like it's really big in this game. And I would have to look really far back before it starts looping. So in practice, you don't really notice that it's a one big background. Yeah. So I can now have really cool effects. I showed that earlier, but since you weren't there, like I can do stuff like that. So I have a lookup table, and then from that I can start the game. And then I have this. Yeah. I can do it like anything with this. I tried like different night modes, I think. Like I can even like do this where it's only a single flat color. Meth shader. So this one like makes it all purple. Purpley blue almost. So this is all from a single shader. It finds the color in this 3D cube, and it maps to the right color. Like, I just need to take this, colorize, or not. Could have sworn I could have just colorized that. I can increase the contrast. Oh, am I? Oh, that's the reason. I'm not selected on the right one. There you go. If I want like an orange. So this alone controls the colors in the game. Oops. Vampire mode, yeah. So eventually this allows me to do some really cool effects. Vintage. The one that I like is this, because this one actually looks like a night mode. So I pretty much just boosted the blues, brought the color, like the lighting a bit down. So like from that we can see it. That there's more darks, more blues. Real night mode probably won't look exactly like that. Oh. Oh, and I have a menu. Okay, sorry, I'm thinking like ahead a bit. So I think what I want to do now is what am I doing today? That's a good question. So I would argue my menu is done, or at least the base for it. Okay. So I want to think about the map editor. That's what I'm looking for. Can I scroll on the right? There's no manual scrolling yet. I don't control the camera. Dun, 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 dun. Place it on the right panel and to see all the levels. In here, right? I'm able to like zoom out. Now we pretty much see everything. Okay. So the thing that I'm thinking about is using some spatial hashing. Something like that. Spatial hashing, implementation for fast. So I'm not using it for 2D collision, or I guess I am in a way, but... So there comes a point where there's so many things in this game, like in the world, that I don't know exactly what's on the screen. And it's sort of annoying to have to loop through everything. So one thing that I can do is do some spatial hashing. In other words, pretty much create a dictionary with the key being the coordinates of each boxes. And then place every item in the game into their respective box. If an item is in 2 boxes, is there more images in here? If an item is in 2 boxes, then I add it to both of them. And then when it's time to figure out what's on the screen... Hey, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, shaders like were hard to learn, but now I'm starting to get the hang of it. Well, really, they weren't that hard, but just understanding the technicalities, like the mapping on the, like texture coordinates. It's not like per pixel, but it's like from 0 to 1. It's kind of really annoying to work with sometimes. And a bunch of little things. Anyway, so if I want to figure out what's on the screen, and my screen is like 3 by 2, I just have to loop through these 6 boxes and then figure out what's inside of them. I wonder if there's interesting comments here. To sell. Interesting. Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like chunks. Or is it? Can we say that the Minecraft chunks are like spatial hashing? So chunks are like that. So a chunk is like 16 by 16. So this would be an array, I think. Okay, so how are the chunks put together? That's really the question. So this here is not exactly the same thing that I'm doing, but how they put those together, it might be the same way. It might be done through spatial hashing. Finding chunk edges. Interesting. Because in my game, it's not really boxes. Some images or like some objects can be bigger than whatever chunk size I choose. Okay, so the goal is to eventually support these sort of things for my game. These sort of complex maps. So in other words, you have some terrain. There's some really big complexity depending on how I code my backend pretty much. Okay, I guess I need to like draw what I'm thinking. So the idea is that you'd have a dictionary. Where the key is like an XY. In other words, you have like a list of like X and Y's. And then inside of those, you have elements. So like objects. In other words, if you have a visual representation, you could have different boxes. And since I'm no longer using an array, it's more of a dictionary, so I don't need to have a key everywhere. Here, there doesn't need to be a key to fill this space. So I can have different things. And then if I have an object in there, so this might be 0, 1. 1, 0. This might be 1, 1. 2, perfect. If there's like one big thing, it would be in both. Problem comes with sorting, like what's in front of what. Anyways, whatever. So in other words, let's say I do 0, 1. Something red, something green. So inside of that, there's that. This one is there too. So when it's time to figure out what's on the screen, let's say this is my screen. Fine. Okay. So then I just need to figure out the screen is over which coordinates. So I can figure out that the screen is over 0, 0, but there's nothing. So when I'm trying to look for 0, 0, the dictionary tells me there's nothing. Then I find 0, 1, so I get these two objects. Then I find 1, 0, I find this object. Okay, so I'm looping through. I find this. I find this. I find this, and then I end up with 1, 1. I find it again. And then I find 1, 2, so I find the triangle. So then it's just a matter of removing stuff that's not inside of those boundaries. So this one is inside, yes, yes, and then that one here gets deleted because it's not inside of my screen. And then also I need to remove duplicates. Okay, so that would apply for all the objects. So for example, all these islands. All the ornaments. All those. But when it comes to tiles themselves, okay, so each object will need to have a value, sort of z index. So let's say this has a value of 3, this one has a value of 1, this one has a value of 2. When it's time to sort, let's say 1 is first, I end up with that, that. Well, the real reason I'm like waiting a bit before coding is because I'm trying to think about stuff like copy pasting. For like right now the map editor is really fast in that I'm able to insert rows, insert like columns. Oops, I removed one. It's like super fast, just dropping these in. But how do I do it with this sort of system? Do I just remove the ability to insert a row? And instead like do a big like copy paste where I can select locations, cut, then paste it. Because like when you end up with like these complex levels, it sort of doesn't make sense anymore. Oh, actually, maybe we can do local row insertion. In other words, I select an area, and then within that area I can now insert rows or remove or like columns, whatever. I also need to think about copy pasting. I wrote copy pasting on Google and it said copy pasting jobs. So I'm guessing people look for copy pasting jobs. That's a good question. When you undo, how much of it should be undone? At what point do we define a step? I was hoping I would get some less cancer music. There you go. Can I do a dictionary of points? Oh, I need a value. I'm tempted to create a new object. Okay. I actually have a new dog. She's been sleeping the whole time. Very quiet dog. It looks pretty much exactly like that. Almost. It's this type of dog. Okay, so in the game there are many different stuff that can exist inside of the level world, pretty much. The level world. So there's like the islands, ornaments, the tiles. What are the season rewards? Maybe I should be playing right now. No, I'm just kidding, but League of Legends. Da, 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 da.
I am a robot.
Hey, thanks for a follow, Hands99. Welcome. What is that? For grave, what? Oh, I don't really care about the words. Damn, there's an account I didn't even do my placements on. If I do them, I think I'm placed in gold right away. Or maybe plat. Victorious silver ×2. Oh, I think I have an account where I have at least silver. Climb to silver in more than one rank queues. So I think I'm gonna get that. Because I have an account where it's all plat, I think. Honor rewards. I could have sworn I had an account in level 5, but then I couldn't find it the other day. I wonder if the honor level decays if you stop playing. Wait, what is that? Hierarchical. Wait, how do we say that? Hierarchical.
Hierarchical.
Hierarchic. Wait. No.
Hierarchical.
Kikal? Yeah, whatever. Hierarchical. Spatial hash grid. Extremely efficient spatial hashing for collision detection. Yeah, okay. Hierarchical. Hey, welcome, Vitus13. Server error, what? Is there a date on this? 6 years ago? Did he remove his massive... Okay, let's see if I can understand this. Example, so you're using that. Not sure if I like this. Okay, I feel kind of silly for asking this, but are there any example? The idea is to create a single discrete location most nearby objects will map to. For instance, if dividing by 64 to 1. You can use this cell ID as the index for your hash table or other fast lookup structures. You should be able to use pair as a key. Add both objects to the cell they belong to. Now you can easily query all objects. Find all objects near a particular object you can query. Insert every object into the cell its own and all neighboring cells. These sets might be both empty if the objects only moved a little. I'm trying to think of an efficient way to determine duplicates. Is there an easy way to do that? Well, the idea is that let's drop that a bit. The idea is that let's say that I'm dividing my cells that way. So in 0, in 1 0 and 1 1, there's like one big shape that it overlays both regions. So the logical thing would be to add this object to the two boxes. So you end up with 1 0 with 1, like with the same box as 1 1. Let's say my dotted line is my screen, and I want to find everything that's in my screen. So I find my red, my green, I find my blue twice, and then I find the yellow, because the screen is over this area. But I don't want to draw this twice. So I need to be able to figure out really fast that this is already found. Our Gloria forever. I like their lyrics in this. Back hope and peace. Our Gloria. Lightbringer. They have some really good music in League of Legends. Break that spot. I saw like the guy that sings this. It's crazy like how good he is. Like the way how he uses the voice. Yeah, me too. Every time I hear it, I sort of realize it. I don't know how he sings like that. The village was a golden hope. Down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our Gloria to live forever. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. There's something that he does with his voice that I can't do. Lightbringer. Listen, fellow, I ask you, should my come? I can't do it. There's like something that he goes for that I can't. Italian style, living in this realm. Yeah. Like, how does he do that? Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our Gloria to live forever. Yeah. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. I'm not even in the same registry. Like the live video of like them playing is like crazy. Down the reckoning, bring back hope and peace, restore our Gloria to live forever. Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace, restore our Gloria to live forever. Bring down the dark regime, I know how to unleash eternal power, lead us to order. Okay, so I have an idea actually, but I don't really like it. I like this one too. So let's say each object has a counter. So okay, the game has a frame rate, like a frame. So the goal is to draw each object once per frame, each object in view once per frame. Okay, so let's say I'm on frame number 1. Okay, and it's time to draw. Okay, let's say everything is to be drawn. So I say, and then red has a counter. When it starts, it's 0. So 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then it's time to draw. Oh, it's snowing. There's so much snow already outside. Okay, so it's time to draw. So I'm putting this into the next bucket. I'm saying like draw. So this here becomes 1. I drew it. This here, I draw it. Before I draw, I say check this. Is it 0? Is it different than 1? Is it smaller than 1? Yes. Draw it. Put it to 1. Check this. Is it smaller than 1? Yes. Poop. It becomes 1 right here. Now here, this, since it's the same object, it's now 1. So I say, are you smaller? No. So it doesn't actually get drawn. Bool variable. I don't think that would work. Yeah, I don't think a bool variable, because the idea is that each frame, so now we're at 1. Like the idea with a bool variable is like, has it been drawn? Yes, but you need to know if it has been drawn on this frame. We don't care if it was drawn in the past, and it would be really expensive to loop through everything after and then set it back to false. And then we get onto frame number 2. So this draw action would, one, draw it and increment this number. Then once again, this one doesn't get drawn. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not actually incrementing, even though right now, but let's say that a frame gets skipped for whatever reason. Let's say something goes out of frame for a couple milliseconds, so it's not drawn anymore. Essentially, the check would be if it's not equal to the current frame. So yeah, if it's not equal, then draw it. If it is, so let's say I draw this, it now becomes 1, and then here, this becomes... Actually, this is not when it's drawn, this is when it's getting ready to be drawn. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm generating a list of all the items that should be drawn. So I'm looping through everything that's been found and then filtering poop into a new list of everything. Yeah, so essentially we're not going from this to the next one. Every time we're starting the process, finding everything, for each frame, find everything, filter it down, draw it. Each frame, find everything, draw, filter it down, draw it. Yeah. So in other words, you might be right that I can use a boolean. Yeah. Yep, you're right actually. So in other words, these objects, they don't have a number. They're just themselves. But then when it's time to generate them, does it work? Should it be associated with the object? Yeah, because these two need to be linked together. They can't be separated. Otherwise, I find each object. I'm like overthinking this, aren't I? Yeah, they don't have a unique ID, but I could make some. I could get a unique ID for them. I was thinking about that like an hour ago. So the opening post, it says, I'm working on a 2D game for Android. Yeah, so it's essentially the same thing I'm trying to solve. Maybe. That's what I'm checking right now. I'm looking at like a hash set, but I faintly remember that we're not supposed to use that. Oh, you're right. A set is a collection. So I could use, instead of a list, just a hash set. A set is a collection that contains no duplicate element and whose elements particular order of a hash set. Without values. So it cannot contain duplicate elements. Yeah. Like the way I would use the hash set, I think, would be find each object and then add it to the hash set. So I'm looping through this sort of list and then add it to my new hash set. So every frame I would have a new hash set. Or I would like clear it or something. Is there a clear? Remove all elements from the hash set. Trim excess. I'm pretty sure I'm like overthinking this, but it seems like not right away a trivial problem. I'm like overthinking this so hard. Yeah. I'm actually like thinking, like let's say I want a map like this. And those are like Okay, the real problem is that in this game, I have tiles. Okay, like here this is 2 by 2 with like a bunch of other tiles. So the tiles is like, even the tiles is not right away trivial, because you can think of this as a level. Okay, so this would be like this little section here. But how, like, do I want one big array that encompasses all the tiles? So this might be like 2000 by 1000. Maybe this is not too bad in terms of like memory, I'm not sure. But under the tiles there's a lot of different objects, and those are not right away, they're not in a grid, because those objects, they can be any size. Even like the islands behind, they don't necessarily have the standard size. Like if I look at this, like those are placed under a tile. So maybe here there's like room for 2 tiles and like 4 tiles. But like there's all this extra space that's all over, so it makes it harder to place it inside of a tile. Like I could cut the texture in different little pieces, but actually the real problem is that those, even if I were to manage to put those into tiles, into like a grid, those can overlap other ones. Like this part right here, it can overlap this part right here. This thing is drawn in a way so that it can merge into the other pieces. So it makes it different because or maybe I do making any, but the problem is that I want, no, it's not late. I could like decide to just make it an image for everything. The problem, and like making an image would be really simple. The problem is that I want a nice map editor. I want the game to have a map editor where you can place each object. So while I could make like this game really tight and I make my levels perfect, and then chain a bunch of textures one after the other, that blend nicely together, I want some control, like having the ability to just get in there. Computer froze for a second. So slow. Okay. Wait, what? Oh, that's what's happening. There's a pixel offset.
You guys probably don't see it, but I see it. There's a pixel offset. I knew something was wrong. Or is there? I'm not even sure. Yeah, I feel like the screen is going down. Hello? Hello? Okay, I think it's working. It glitched for like a sec, because I touched it. It must have like done some static or something. it, it's 1 pixel. Hello? Is my mic broken? Wait 1 sec. Let's pause that. Wait, what? Yeah, I'm gonna try to listen. I'm trying to open this room.
But actually, the real problem is that.
Wait, what is that? That's not live. Hello? Yeah, I'm gonna try to listen. I'm trying to open this room. Oh shit. Okay. It's time to give me a sec.
Okay, maybe. 1, 2, 1, 2. I heard that before, I think. Okay, maybe. Wait, what? 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. I think it works. But the sound sounded bad, didn't it? Wait, I think the sound is bad. Wait, I think the sound is bad. Yeah, this mic is wrong. I'm using the wrong mic. Okay, there you go. Yeah. So now I should be fine. Yeah. Unless I'm still a robot. I mean, I would never admit it, but... Hello? Yeah. Unless I'm still a robot. No, that's fine. Perfect. Yeah, the sound is fixed. Okay, so yeah, what is nice with this is that I can just jump in, create my levels, put whatever I want. There you go. Put the keyframe. There you go. Boop, boop. Whatever. Poop. So yeah, just creating a level is fast. Oh, I went too fast. almost all the 2D games are like tiled games. It's hard to find info on like non-tiles. Okay, I got an idea. I just don't know if it's gonna work well. So in here we have collision. Maybe I can use that. Like, let the collision stuff do the work for me or something. Well, the thing I'm looking for with collisions is just the data structure they're using to hold. Okay, I got a new idea. I think that's gonna work. Okay. Yeah, so I let go of this idea of spatial hashing. That's not gonna work. This thing is like stupid. It's not contextual. Okay. Here's how this game is gonna be built. It's gonna... Okay. I need to show an image first, just to explain what I'm doing. This is how the game is built. There's a bunch of foreground elements. This is old, but the foreground elements is like the stuff right there, right in front of your eyes. Let's use that to compare. Okay, so the foreground elements is all those branches. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff that's open. Okay, then there's a bunch of particles that are flying around. You can sort of see those particles a bit everywhere. More particles. You see those in like those little lights. When there's light, there's particles. Then you have ornaments. So all the little leaves, those are like different objects. Okay. Then you have different shadows, and then the grid itself. So all those grid tiles. Then you have the islands. So the islands are like the green stuff that's below the tiles. And then under that there's some vines. All the vines that are below the terrain. And then more particles. Some darker stuff, so you don't see it easily, but some parts of the image are a bit darker. And then the actual backgrounds. So what I'm gonna be doing is all those elements are gonna be built like this. So you're gonna draw, like there's gonna be a zone. Whoops. And then, oops. Inside of each zone, and this is okay. It's actually not the level itself, but it's like different stuff that can be put together. So in this, there's like different rectangles, different leaves. And then on that, there's like different art, like nice little stuff. Okay. Okay. So this would be the bounding box of this level. Now there can be another bounding box where and then each thing can only be inside of one bounding box. But the bounding box, they can overlap each other's. So maybe there's another one right here. And then this one would be filled differently. So maybe there's something like that overlaps right there. But that one would be part of this new bounding box. With a bunch of like branches right there. Whatever. Bunch of little plants. So essentially the game is built from a bunch of rectangles, and inside of those rectangles I can have objects. So when it's time to check if something is on the screen, I first check if the bounding box is inside of the screen. So if the screen is here, then if the screen is here, then I know that nothing here needs to be checked. Nothing here needs to be checked. Yeah, I do need the rectangles. The reason for that is the rectangles are just an optimization in order for me to check if my screen is over those. So essentially these objects, like these sort of objects would be within of a rectangle. So maybe this whole area, this whole board would be inside of this rectangle that would cover the whole shape of those objects. And then I know that my screen, am I able to? No, I can't. Okay, whatever. So if my screen sees any part of this rectangle, that's when I need to start looking at inside of it. And then for each individual item, I check if it's on the screen. But at least I don't need to check for every level. So if my world is really big, like this, so everything here would have different bounding box. I kind of don't want to draw it, but like this here would be one bounding box. This here would maybe be another one. So yeah, everything here would be divided into many different rectangles. And then maybe those rectangles can also be inside. So I can do a hierarchy. Okay, so if we ignore the items themselves, whatever's inside, we can do something like this, where we can have like the levels, like different terrain parts. However this ends up looking. Okay. And then maybe we can even have a bigger scope where maybe two of those can be inside of their own rectangle. Maybe like this. With maybe an even bigger one. So when it's time to figure out what's on the screen, I can pretty much go down like, okay, so is the red inside of the screen? Yes. Is this green inside? Yes. Is this one? No. So then I only have to check this and this. So it ends up being like a big tree. Yeah, quad tree. It's different slightly, I think. It sounds like a quad tree, but I think there's a difference. Yeah, because that's a quad tree. The quad 3 requires, like, the way the divisions are done is different than what I'm currently drawing. Yeah, the division is different. So this way of dividing the space would be better for the type of game I'm making. But yeah, this is it's not so much a quad 3, but more like a 3 in general. That's how we can sort. Like, let's say you're looking at a binary 3. What I'm doing is like similar to this, where like you have one big rectangle that encompasses everything, and then you have like different smaller ones until you end up with the individual objects of what I'm drawing. So it's like a child-parent relationship. Because I was thinking about using a spatial hashing, where you divide the space into squares. And then if an object goes over the boundaries of a region, you add it to both. But then you get problems where you don't want to draw the same object twice, so you need a way to eliminate that, and then... yeah, anyway, so it's kind of complicated. But if I make my objects be only part of one boundary box, and the boundary box, they can overlap, then it sort of solves a bunch of stuff. Now with something like this, I'm not exactly sure how my map editor is gonna work. This is like annoying me, but whatever. So how... Okay, I think I got it. In other words, when I'm designing the world, everything is gonna be placed inside of this big red box. Then I'm gonna be able to do selections and then push them down into like the green box. So first, when you're designing the world, everything is inside of this big red one. Then I can push stuff down into its own little boundaries, and then select even more, push it down into its own little boundaries. So this could be done manually. Or it could even be done automatically. No, okay. The objects, they won't exist in the same boundary. So there's gonna be a restriction where each object can only be in one boundary. What do I mean by that? So the reason the boundaries can overlap is this. Let's say I have a bunch of green. Okay, so this, okay, there's this here. So let's say there's these two objects, three objects. And then there's also a bunch of red objects. Yeah, let's say there's this one here. With okay. So for this green stuff, I would have this big boundary right there. For the red stuff, I would have this big boundary right there. So the red objects would overlap the green ones, but they would not be inside of the blue boundary. So okay, technically the green stuff, the red stuff overlaps a bit the blue boundary, but in terms of the code, you would not have it. Like the blue stuff would only contain the green objects, and the yellow one would only have the green, the red ones. So the green objects would only exist inside of the blue boundary, and the red one only exists in the red and the yellow one. And the way those are separated would be like arbitrary. Like if you wanted, it could be like these could all be inside of the one big boundary, but like, so like how you divide it is like arbitrary. It's more like you try to divide stuff into ways where it's not gonna take too long to figure out what's on the screen. So the bigger a boundary, the more bad it is in terms of like having too many things inside of everything. And right now I'm thinking about doing that manually. So you design your big world. Let's say like this is the big map. And then you start to think about this. So you place like different objects somewhere on the map. So you don't think too much about it. And then if somehow, like while you're working, the game becomes really slow, then you can go and then pick like different things individually, like these ones, and then push it into like a red boundary that would like encompass this. And then maybe that would speed up the game a bit. And then do the same for like different things here. And then maybe that speeds up the game a bit. And then if it's still slow, you can even push it further down. Maybe select these 3 right there and push it into this new blue boundary. Yeah, exactly. But I think I have something that works now. So in other words, what I'm doing now is like, don't think about it. And then as soon as it becomes a problem, the tool, like the map making tool, allows you to push stuff down. Yeah, but it's not that simple, because the drawings, there's a way for them to get pieced together. Yeah, it's supposed to look like one really big level. It's supposed to look like something like this, maybe, where you start somewhere and then you explore, and then you beat the levels. Or even just that, so one big continuous piece. Just look at all the adjacent levels. Yeah, but like the problem is that what's the problem? No. So the level files will have one big map. Let's go check. Where did I put my level in the content? Right. There you go. So this is what a map is. I kind of want to So essentially a level has, there's like level sections where there's a part that defines the terrain, part that defines, okay, this is actually all gonna change. Hello, Alan Punk. Long time no see. Yeah, this is actually gonna change. So the way this is gonna be will be one big map terrain section, and then the levels themselves. So the terrain section is gonna get moved somewhere else, but the obstacles, those are gonna stay inside of the level. So in other words, the levels themselves, like the obstacle, are gonna be separate from the terrain. Right now it's like one terrain with a timeline where you can insert keyframes. Oops. So the levels, the keyframes are linked to the terrain. But what I'm going to do with the new like graphics and everything is to have one big terrain chunk and then the levels themselves. So there's going to be like a start location where you start, and then different conditions for how each level is getting loaded. So essentially what you're doing is like there's one big map, and then the maps, they are linked together with teleportation pads that load a new map. In other words, why? Because because when you only have tiles, it's very simple. Like this sort of map editor works well, like where it works nicely when it's only tiles, and then you can load the next level. This is nice. Yeah, performance, that's one word. The problem is that when you start to get this new level editor where you have other stuff that are not just tiles, now it doesn't make sense anymore to have each level be linked to the terrain. Also, one thing that allows me to do is that let's say I want this sort of map where I start and the level is a line. Okay, so let's say this is the level. So you start here and then you go to the next, and then you reach this part here, which is a dead end. Now if the levels are no longer linked to the, like the terrain is no longer linked to the levels, I'm able to, once you're here, have another level here that goes the other way. So I would be able to do this sort of back and forth. So with the same terrain, I could have many levels. So reuse the terrain pretty much. So that could be interesting. So go one way, when you reach there, go the other way. And then the start would actually be the end. So it limits me less in the way I design the game. Yeah, I could override, but it's kind of weird. And especially with like this sort of art, it would actually look really bad if you were to draw on top of like levels. If you were to draw twice. So that's why like it's a better idea to just draw the terrain and then draw like and then over the terrain define different parts that are gonna be the levels. So it sounds like the system is more complicated because it is, but it turns out that it's gonna make everything easier when it comes to like creating the game. I'm trying to think about the tiles themselves. I guess I can close that. Because right now the tiles are just an array, with some tiles that have a value, and some tiles that are like 0 or like nothing. So this is an array. Because the tiles are not just drawn as tiles. Like these things, they're not just like a grid. They're made with like nice little effects that make them less straight and less like obviously tiles, so that they blend nicely together and everything. So maybe I just use like a dictionary. trying to imagine an editor that can manage this. Efficiently. Like, let's say like I create my game and then everything gets divided and now I want to change something. I guess I think about that later. Okay, so I'm tempted to end the stream there and then work more on this later. Just because it's starting to be a bit late and... Hey, the dog is trying to get on the bed. Yeah, and the dog is like bored now. I need to take care. Yeah, that's gonna look really good. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I should be back tomorrow. Peace.